any deductions we can make yet with more clues. We still only have deadly precision. Okay, we need to pair this up with more things. So, them giving me a brief outline of what they all did doesn't really give me anything new to work on, deduction-wise, as to who might be involved. Interesting, it always brings me back here. Alright, let's... Oh, there we go. Determine the correct sequence of events based on data gathered. So, Holmes thinks that somebody... put these here. I assumed that whoever it was did this somewhere else and the gas came through the vents. And they went round and closed all the other vents briefly, so that it would all come through here. But he thinks that they were put in here. I mean, it's possible. We do believe that Montague Dunn... Well, he was trying to keep these 3 plants, because these are the 3 that the Divine Syndicate loaned him. So he does that. He knocks this over. And then 2, he does that. So it's possible he could have just put them in here. And locked them up, because there's a lock on this door. There aren't locks on all the others. That was the other thing I was going to double check. At least I don't think so. No, they're locked as well. But they said that the locks on these doors aren't exactly, you know... not exactly like Fort Knox. Right, let's have a look. So he breathes in the spores, knocks his own thing over, and then he's staggered, which is when Martin Hamish would have seen him through the window, trying to burst through the door.
When Montague Dunn was standing close by the plants, the caterpillars were released and caused the deadly spores to activate. Panicking, and likely already half asphyxiated,
Somebody put caterpillars on the inside of the
Montague Dunn
vent.
started back and knocked over the bust. He rushed to the door, but it was locked. He had to force it open with his shoulder. We already know the outcome. Montague Dunn collapsed and died not far from the pool. Well, it is time to perform our experiment on the ventilation system.
Right. So somebody could have placed caterpillars on the inside of this grid, so that
The
when it
caterpillars
opened
could
up,
only fall from the ventilation duct. Our caterpillars are in place. I'll activate the ventilation system so that they fall down. Watson, stay here and observe.
All right,
Yes.
Holmes.
stand exactly there, Watson, and let them rain down on your head. These aren't those kind of caterpillars that have those bristles on them, are they? That are kind of deadly. You know, like all irritating and poisonous. Because there are those types of caterpillars out there. Am I going in the wrong direction again? I am, aren't I? We need to go through the dry, arid thingamajig room. It's this way. I will get it right. No.
The power is on. The engine cannot be started.
Alright, there, so we need to turn the transmission on.
The engine has started.
And then we have to kick it into gear.
The ventilation system is working.
So So I need to now follow the ventilation ducts, I guess. Goes in here. And through there. And along there. Down and in to here. How did it work?
Now we need to see if we can activate the fans from Mr. Hamish's and Albert's space.
Oh, right. Activate the fans. I haven't seen anything to do with fan activation. Alright. Let's go back. I wonder why only that segment and the one at the far end is actually switched on or not. Right, so this is Albert's workspace. And again,
From here, we are unable to see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room. This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system. Excellent. This ventilation fan is working. Let us see if I can activate the other one.
okay.
This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system. We can see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room from this window.
I mean, it gives him a front row seat to know when to trigger everything, right?
Perfect. Now I just need to find Watson to check the result.
It works perfectly, Holmes. Bravo. Now, if you could just help me to get rid of these caterpillars.
Perfect. Now we know how the murder of Montague Dunn was carried out, by activating both Albert's and Mr. Hamish's fans.
But only from Mr. Hamish's workplace would it be possible to see when Montague Dunn entered the Colonial Collection Room.
Well then. And she stated she was in the lab. I mean, just because we found that wax cylinder there doesn't mean to say she was there. And no one else says where she was. So the vents were used. This should probably be the last clue, right? Yeah. Oh, there are no clues. Continue the investigation. Okay. Martin Hamish had the opportunity to stimulate the deadly plants in the Colonial Collection Room. As a biologist, he would have understood the technicality of how to do this. But so would Miss White, which is why she was my preferred suspect. But this doesn't jive with if Miss White had a lack of experience. So this is really just the thing now that puts Martin Hamish as a potential. Because we didn't have anything in terms of his opportunity. So we've not been able to put him as a suspect yet. Now this has finally put him as a suspect. So Martin Hamish could have been the killer. He had the opportunity to steal the Divine Syndicate's plants and stimulate from his workplace directly after he locked Montague Dunn inside the Colonial Collection room. He doesn't have keys. Effect the arrest of Martin Hamish. So we have to arrest him in order to continue the investigation?
Let's go to Scotland Yard.
Can't say I like that. Going out the wrong way again. I don't know why I turned that way. Just by default thinking I'm going for the front door. I'm not. So maybe we just get to interrogate him now in an actual police cell and ask him some more poignant questions. And maybe that shakes something else loose. We'll have to see. Okay. I think I hear a van pulling up outside. If I run for the door, it's because the delivery is here. Well, we don't have any of Hamish's belongings. I suppose we have to speak to Lestrade first and actually tell him to get off his tushy and do some work. Lestrade, you useless bugger.
Inspector, I believe that Martin Hamish is guilty of the murder of Montague Dunn.
Aha! I knew it.
No,
I'll
you
send the
didn't.
lads around to arrest him.
And even I
Very
don't know
good.
it.
I shall wait to hear from you.
I hope this isn't the conclusion. This isn't usually how you do this. You usually go to the deduction screen. So you normally do it from here and have one of those big gold orbs, but we don't have one yet. This is just another objective. See, the options with Albert, Divine Syndicate, or Miss White all gave us gold orbs to close the case. This one hasn't yet. It's interesting.
Inspector, I came here as quickly as I could.
Martin Hamish is in the large glass house. There's no need to hurry.
Well, that doesn't sound good. A large glass house. Oh,
Holmes, my God!
Yes, we found him like that.
Our messing around with the ventilation system didn't go unnoticed. Mr. Hamish realized that we knew.
Inspector, could you arrange the body, please? I should like to examine it.
Well then.
Holmes, don't look at me like that. I don't know what to think about all this.
Clearly a tragic accident. Exactly, he was trying to clean the windows on the top, and he was using a rope for safety. Ironically, he slipped, and the rope got tangled around his neck, and he strangled himself. How are you today, Chas? Okay, let's have a look then. Start at the top.
The mark
neck.
around the neck is very
Good
visible.
stuff.
He died instantly.
I don't think he would have died instantly. He wouldn't have had a sufficient enough drop to break his neck. He would have strangled for like 15 minutes. For Monday, yeah, that's it. I think I hear a van. Maybe not. Life has become a living hell. I find it unbearable. Dunn deserved to die, but I cannot forgive myself for having his blood upon my hands. He didn't seem like a guy that was struggling. We Hamishes seem to have always fallen victim to our circumstance, and I find myself to be no exception. I must atone, and I shall do so here and now. Farewell. It's too neat. Way too neat.
Holmes, his left shoe is unique. This anomaly is often a characteristic of...
A club foot. Bravo, Watson. That is the key element of this case.
Is it? Him having a club foot is a key somehow? Wonder why. Hamish admits to murdering Montague Dunn in a suicide note. The worn-down shoe, double heel of his left shoe reveals that Martin Hamish suffered from club foot tibial torsion. And this matters why. He's unable to run due to the tibial torsion in his club foot. Therefore, we should find out if he had sufficient time to lock the door of the colonial room and activate the ventilation system, or did he have an accomplice? That is it. Yes, it explains how he slipped off the ladder and, you know, strangled himself with the rope he was trying to set up as a safety harness. Yep. Tragic again. Discuss with Lestrade the possible impact of new clues from the body of Martin Hamish. Yes, let's discuss this with Lestrade. That should be illuminating. Yeah. Otherwise known as the genius of Scotland Yard, of course. You know what they say about in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed man is king?
Something about this rings very oddly.
Why do you say that, Mr. Holmes?
Why? Because of Mr. Hamish's club foot. Oh, I deserve to be kicked from here to Charing Cross. I should have noticed it.
But, Mr. Holmes, I can't see why.
No, I don't suppose you do. You must recall that Mr. Dunn was locked inside the Colonial Collection Room by the murderer. If it was Mr. Hamish, he would have had to run up to his workplace to trigger the fan situated above it, taking into consideration the condition of his foot.
Well, it is still possible.
Perhaps, but it is rather strange that such a person as Mr. Hamish decided to base his plan on the speed of his gait.
You mean to say that somebody helped him?
So the suicide is questionable?
Correct. Mr. Hamish accuses only himself in his letter, and so the investigation stops.
Possibly an accomplice, then? That idea had not occurred to me, Mr. Holmes.
I have another idea, Inspector. Thanks to the testimony that we have collected, we are able to rebuild the events as they took place that day.
With a timeline, such as we did in the Jack the Ripper case.
Precisely.
The map at the entrance of Kew Gardens should help us with our timeline.
Let us analyze the facts and statements
Ooh, this is
so
cool.
that we may recreate the events of that morning.
But a lot of stuff never occurs to Lestrade. No, it probably doesn't. Alright, so we've got some pins we need to put on these timelines here. Martin Hamish and Montague Dunn went to meet Albert in the Seed House at around 9:30. Yeah, because Albert said it was 9:40, Hamish said it was 9:30. Okay. It was around 20 minutes to 10 when Hamish and Montague Dunn went out to the backyard. Okay. Out to the backyard. This was part of his supposition. So 20 minutes would have put it at around 9:50. After 10 minutes, Dunn recommenced his inspection and entered the dry tropics rooms, and Hamish says he returned to the seed house. I mean, if they were at the backyard, he would have needed to go through the through the seed house, but his workstation was in the nursery. That's the place where he would have activated the thing. The seed house is where Albert and what is it worked, right? So that isn't 20 minutes to 10, 9:40. Yes. That's correct. Oh, right, in 20 minutes to 10. Right. Sorry, yeah, I was wondering, I thought, why you pointed this out. Yes, I've misread it. I thought it meant 20 minutes. I didn't read the to 10 part. Around 20 minutes onward is how it translated in my brain for some reason. Yeah. So you're right, yeah, 9:40, 20 minutes to 10, so there we go. After 10 minutes, Dunn recommenced his inspection and entered the dry tropics. So that would have been there. While Martin Hamish says he went to the seed house. Martin Hamish had a conversation with Miss White at 10 o'clock. Okay. While Miss White... And that was her testimony, so we'll put that there. Miss White was in the laboratory until 10:40. Okay. Which one do we use? Albert saw Hamish returning from visiting Miss White. Okay. Which one do we use for this bit? Miss White was in the laboratory until 10:40. So that's all the way up here. So she was here between 10 o'clock and 10:40. When she saw Hamish and Albert in the water lily greenhouse and joined them there. From the lab. Right, so I guess we put that there. Hamish ran to Albert as soon as he observed that Montague Dunn was unwell, which was at around 10:30. So that would be when he was poisoned. Around 10:30. And that's according to him, Martin Hamish. Albert was in the seed house the entire morning. He observed Hamish returning from his visit with Miss White at 10 minutes past 10. Right, so that was there. Okay. Thing is, he said it was around 10:30, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he said 10:30. See, I can't go into my conversation history to actually have a look at it. But I'm pretty sure that Hamish said that he went back to his place at 10:30. Oh no, he did actually know it was 10:30 when he said he was unwell. Yeah. Alright, so if we play this... This is pretty cool.
Let us summarize. Montague Dunn was poisoned inside the Colonial Collection Room. He forced open the door, which means that someone locked him inside there at 10:20. Martin Hamish was last seen at 10:10. This means that he has approximately 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room. Given that he was club-footed, it is doubtful. Albert also has 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room, which is quite enough time. Miss White was last seen at 10 o'clock, which means that she had approximately 20 minutes to lock the door, more than enough time. Perfect, Watson. Now, let us ascertain who assisted Martin Hamish in killing Montague Dunn.
Okay. So they go together. So Albert is not involved, or Albert had time. So Martin Hamish and Albert are not accomplices. It's unlikely that Albert would have had the opportunity, and 10 minutes would have not been enough to lock the door for the Colonial Collection Room. Albert was Martin Hamish's accomplice. 10 minutes would have been enough time for him to follow Montague Dunn and lock the door in order for that Martin might activate the ventilation system. Well, I'm going to go with that for now, because I'm still holding true to my original thoughts. He's not involved. And White and Hamish's timelines coincide together instead. White had time, Miss White had 20 minutes. It would have been enough to trap Montague Dunn. She could have locked the door and alerted Martin Hamish to activate the ventilation system. Martin Hamish and Miss White are not accomplices. It's unlikely that White would have the opportunity, and 20 minutes would have not locked the door. Again, this has to be the one. If we go with the fact that Albert's not involved, that means that White is the accomplice. And we have found all the clues. Okay. Right. Nothing that we've gone through so far has changed much of my mind that I was chewing this over the last couple of days. I still think White did it. So, let's see. Do I need to look at anything beforehand? No. I mean, other than the fact that, yeah, White was apparently here, and she wasn't seen much after that. She could have easily come through here and into the Colonial Collection Room to lock the door without being seen by Albert, who was in the seed room. She could have come through this section, out of sight, probably waited in here for Dunn to go into his room, and then come and lock the door and then gone back that way. But of course, Albert could have done it this way. He could have come through the Dry Tropics room, following his father. Maybe even walked with him, talked with him for a bit. Who knows? That's if we believe Albert did it. I don't think he did. Because his workstation's here. So they both had an access at either side of the main greenhouse.